This man proclaims himself the warthog slayer. Today he arrives in Africa, ready to wage war against a warthog clan he intends to leave carnage in his wake. The African savanna boasts abundant biodiversity, teeming with wildlife. Here, Cody and Dave will demonstrate survival skills while evading predators. To the beasts, they are little more than mobile snacks. Their sole tool is a machete, a traditional jungle knife useless beyond clearing brush. After scouring the area, they confirm no other tools exist. This marks their first time in Africa, and they're exhilarated by the local delicacies around them. Dave claims he could devour an entire cow. No sooner do the words leave his mouth than a beast's roar pierces the air, a lone male lion. Yet Dave lacks the courage to face it alone. Upon closer inspection, they spot more lions concealed in the grass. 8 African lions in total. Thankfully, Dave resisted his impulse. Now their legs tremble, the pride has noticed them. A lioness locks eyes with them. Never turn and run. Showing fear invites an attack. They retreat slowly. Now, they must craft weapons. Cody fashions a 2.5-meter throwing spear, while Dave assembles a throwing club. Setting off westward toward potential human settlements, they advance cautiously as the brush thickens. A foul odor leads them to shattered ostrich eggs. A predator likely lurks nearby. They must flee, but Cody suddenly points ahead, stammering, "Ostriches." Dave spots fresh warthog tracks, likely the egg destroyers. Then, Cody discovers an intact egg in the grass. Thrilled, Dave crafts a jacket for it, weaving bark into ropes. Cody secures the egg with the ropes, flipping it into a triangular carrier strapped to his body. Lions hunt at dusk. For safety, Cody and Dave seek shelter and rush to build a fire. Dave finds an ideal spot, open terrain with medium-sized trees. They select a large tree for their night camp. Gathering tinder, they attempt friction fire. After prolonged effort, their drill punctures the fireboard. Time is running out, predators stir. On their next try, sparks finally catch the tinder, igniting flames. Safety, for now. Dinner beckons. Cody cracks the ostrich egg carefully with a stone. It's both food and a water vessel. Piercing the inner membrane, they sniff for spoilage. It's fresh. They cook it on a flat stone. The aroma is irresistible. The taste, delicious. A long night follows. At dawn, scorching heat parches their throats. Dense vegetation ahead hints at water. Approaching, they spot grazing herbivores and mud streaks on a tree, elephant markings. Water must be near, but caution prevails. A warthog carcass warns of danger. As they edge forward, they startle an elephant. It assumes a charge stance, protecting its herd. To de-escalate, Dave drops to his knees. The elephant, noting his submission, folds its ears and leads the herd away. Shaken, the duo presses on. They inch closer, vigilant. Cody fills their water vessel, while Dave stands guard. Against the odds, they succeed without incident. Next, they search for a spot to boil water. They choose a clearing surrounded by trees, relatively safe. Cody begins constructing a traditional boma-style shelter, with thorny acacias encircling it, leaving only a top entrance to deter predators. Dave cuts down some acacia branches, nature's barbed wire, and they start building the camp. Then, they attempt friction fire. Cody stays behind to boil water, while Dave scouts nearby for potential prey. Cody sternly warns, never bring blood scent back to camp. On the African savanna, they are the prey. Taking risks is unwise. Staying put and enduring hunger is the smarter move. Suddenly, rustling interrupts them. Cody steps out to investigate and spots a giraffe staring at him curiously. Towering at 6 meters like a watchtower, its calm demeanor signals no nearby predators, easing Cody's nerves. Emboldened, he ventures out to hunt, targeting grasshoppers. Using a tree trunk as a fly swatter, he annihilates every insect in his path. For the local grasshoppers, it's doomsday. Cody skewers them for roasting. Meanwhile, Dave trails 2 warthogs. Cody disapproves. Recklessness here is suicidal. But Dave persists, tracking them to their burrow. He plans to scare one out and strike script perfected. He taps the entrance, and a warthog bursts out only to sprint away. Dave freezes. Another emerges, then a pair from a different exit, all fleeing. Overwhelmed by the maze of burrows, Dave fumes. If Cody were here, these pigs wouldn't dare mock me. Swearing revenge, he plays hide-and-seek with the warthogs until sunset empty-handed. He returns, grumbling, ranting to Cody about the humiliation. Rage tempts him to charge back, but reason prevails. Nightfall means danger. Cody snacks on crispy grasshopper skewers. Dave would rather starve than eat bugs. Then, a faint glow catches Dave's eye in the distance. At dawn, they trek toward the light. After hours, the sound of flowing water leads them to a cabin. They've exited the wilderness into human territory. What bizarre creature leaves 2 grown men laughing yet wary? The Appalachian Mountains harbor primal forests, rugged, muddy, swollen by early spring rains. Kayakers flock here for rapids, but our duo capsized, lost gear, and separated. Survivalists Cody and Dave now simulate this nightmare, stranded miles apart on a frigid, remote river, soaked and alone as darkness falls. Dave wrings out his clothes to preserve core warmth. Fire is urgent. Luckily, his pocket holds a ferro rod. Dry tinder is all he needs. Since Cody was lost upstream, Dave waits. Upriver, Cody searches for Dave but finds only a backpack. Inside, a plastic bag with bungee cords, a rafting helmet, duct tape, and a map. No fire starter. Soaked and shivering, hypothermia looms. He must improvise. Here is the precise English translation adhering strictly to all requirements. Cody found dry bark for tinder and snapped off a branch to make a fire drill. The drill consists of 4 parts: a spindle, a fireboard, a notch, and a bow. He carved a groove into a wooden stick, tied a cord around it, and started rotating it. Friction produced smoke but no sparks. He tried again, with no success. Meanwhile, Dave gathered tinder and firewood, then pulled out his ferro rod and knife. A few quick strikes produced sparks, effortlessly igniting the fire. Talk about luck. Cody kept laboriously spinning the spindle, panting with exhaustion, yet still failed. But giving up wasn't an option. He'd keep trying until all hope was lost. Without fire, Cody sought natural shelter for protection. Luckily, he spotted an overhanging rock. He filled his plastic bag with dry leaves, hoping for minimal warmth. That night, Dave sat by the fire, missing Cody, who was wrapped in the bag doing cardio exercises. A sleepless night awaited. The woods were riddled with poison ivy. Barefoot Cody faced lethal danger, but he had a solution: kneel on muddy ground and smear the mud on his legs, mimicking a spa mud bath. A man who prioritizes fire-starting quality, Cody embraced this leg hair removal ritual. Dave, meanwhile, foraged for medicinal plants. He found jewelweed, nature's antidote to poison ivy, growing right beside the toxic vines. If contacted, just crush jewelweed and apply the juice to the rash. Cody pressed on downstream until he spotted thick smoke. He shouted for Dave and got a response. Consulting their map, they decided to head uphill. The path was treacherous, loose sand and mud hid under leaves. They reached a stream, following it upstream until fallen trees blocked their way. A sudden, eerie wind howled, swaying towering trees like a scene from a horror movie. Detouring to lower elevation, they squeezed between 2 boulders into a hidden area with a natural cave. Dave built a windbreak with logs, lit a fire with his ferro rod, and cleared leaf litter and a startled toad. Cody fetched water in the helmet, while Dave set traps for burrowing mammals. Using half his shoelace as a snare linked to a bungee cord, Dave rigged a trigger mechanism with bait. When an animal took the bait, half a toad impaled on a stick, it would be hoisted up. At the campsite, Cody heated rocks in the fire to sterilize the water. Dave returned with pheasant back mushrooms, a wild delicacy. Eating one raw, Cody grimaced. Dave insisted they'd taste better cooked. Grinning, Cody revealed his find: wriggling protein, aquatic insects in the helmet. Dave tossed in mushrooms, added scorching rocks, and boiled the mix into soup. The first sip was surprisingly good, a hearty meal before sleep. The next day, Dave went to check the traps. From afar, he saw an animal struggling. He called Cody over. It was a skunk, nicknamed Mobile Perfume. The skunks in this area carried rabies virus, so they couldn't eat it, but they couldn't leave it trapped either. Before Cody even arrived, he smelled the stench. Seeing the scene, he burst into laughter. Dave approached the skunk cautiously. A skunk spray can be smelled from 1.6 kilometers away, and if hit directly, it might cause temporary blindness. Dave took off his hat and used it to shield against the skunk while untying the rope. At this moment, Dave nearly broke down. The smell was like perfume dripping into stinky socks. When he put his hat back on, he suddenly felt reinvigorated. They set off, with Cody insisting on walking ahead because he couldn't stand the smell. Climbing to higher ground, they spotted a river and descended. Halfway down, they found abandoned ruins. This used to be an illegal moonshine operation. They found a piece of oilcloth and packed it with them. At the riverside, they prepared to build a boat. They started by cutting down trees, first taping several logs together to make a frame. Then they bent saplings into a basket shape and secured them to the frame with tape. They wrapped the boat with the oilcloth and tightened it with ropes. Finally, they made 2 paddles using branches and tape. Carrying the boat to the riverside, they put on raincoats and set off. Going downstream, the boat moved rapidly. When they reached the rapids, the boat dashed across the water surface like a wild horse running free. Amid their laughter and cheers, the boat capsized and sank with them inside. Dave took off his raincoat and swam ashore, while Cody was carried away by the current. Dave ran along the bank, shouting Cody's name. Fortunately, Cody made it safely to shore too. They decided to climb to higher ground, where they discovered a road. They were rescued. This food that looks like small bread is actually a fungus. Each bite has a faint sweet taste. Tierra del Fuego is located at the southernmost tip of South America, Island, covering 46,000 square kilometers. It has various ecosystems that attract many hunters, but dangers lurk everywhere. Survival experts Cody and Dave will simulate how to survive under extreme conditions. They found equipment provided by the show, a backpack and a rifle. The backpack contained a camouflage raincoat, a water bottle, a roll of rope, a compass, and a calibrated powder keg filled with gunpowder. To increase the difficulty, Dave cut his arm, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. We must emphasize, viewers at home should never imitate this. To stop the bleeding, they plan to cauterize the wound with black powder. Sphagnum moss is very common locally and can protect Dave's arm from being burned by the gunpowder. Cody poured black powder on the wound and lit it. With a puff of thick smoke, the wound sizzled, and the aroma of roasted meat filled the air. Dave's lips twitched in pain, but what upset him more was that the wound was still bleeding. He asked Cody to pour more powder and try again. This time it finally worked, but the wound still needed dressing. Cody placed sphagnum moss on the wound and bound it with torn cloth. The moss was wet. If they used only dry cloth, removing it would tear the skin off too. After treating the wound, this was just the beginning. Next, they needed to head to southern Tierra del Fuego, where there were navigable straits and densely populated coastal areas. Dave took out the compass and determined due south. The two set off. The path through the woods wasn't easy. Before long, they heard the sound of flowing water. Ahead was indeed a creek, crystal clear. Cody took out the water bottle and filled it. Dave drank it all in one gulp, refreshing and sweet. This was spring water from the glaciers, safe to drink directly. Cody refilled the water bottle, and they continued forward. They passed through the woods and entered another area, a nearly 500 square kilometer peat bog. These massive sphagnum mosses acted like sponges, releasing liquid when squeezed. Walking across them made it difficult to maintain balance. In the wetlands, poorly drained areas formed quagmires. The swamp contained sticky sinkholes filled with decaying organic matter, creating dangerous sponge-like formations. As the ground grew softer, barefoot Cody played with childlike joy, seemingly rediscovering childhood happiness. His attention turned to a nearby sinkhole, which he couldn't resist testing. He immediately sank in and had Dave pull him out with all his strength. After this incident, they proceeded more carefully. Along the way, they collected several bones which could be useful for various purposes. Melting glaciers fed into Tierra del Fuego's swamps, creating an intricate network of icy waterways that blocked their path. Their only option was to wade across, though the freezing water would accelerate heat loss. They removed their clothes, storing them dry in the backpack, one carrying the pack, the other the rifle. Entering the water, they found it only knee-deep, making their undressing perhaps unnecessary. However, the final stretch suddenly dropped deeper, prompting them to scramble ashore in a panic. They sprinted to the forest edge, leaping over ditches along the way. Upon reaching the trees, they quickly retrieved and dressed in their dry clothes. To prevent hypothermia, they needed to build a fire. Gathering tinder, they poured gunpowder on it and ignited it with the rifle. As the fire burned, warmth finally returned. Next came shelter construction. Cody cut trees to build a lean-to with a sturdy tripod base. After completing the frame, he added interwoven branches like basket weaving to withstand strong winds. Meanwhile, Dave hunted for beavers with his rifle. Finding signs on a fallen log, he tracked them to the riverbank, where he discovered a motionless beaver, already dead upon closer inspection. Cutting it open revealed foul-smelling glands, though the odorless castor oil could prevent tool rust, which Dave applied to his weapons. Cody stripped bark from a fallen tree for roof gutters and found peat moss to absorb moisture and prevent leaks. Noticing beaver teeth marks everywhere, Dave set a trap along their path by erecting 2 logs with cross branches. For the trap to be effective, the falling weight needed to be about 5 times the prey's weight. He sharpened a wooden trigger to hold the mechanism. Come morning, Dave checked the trap, only to find his hopes dashed. It had been triggered without success. They continued their journey as rain began falling, making the path slippery. During a rest break, they examined Dave's wound, no bleeding, and reapplied fresh peat moss bandages. Eventually reaching the sea, they descended coastal mountains and built a fire on shore to attract attention. Dave found small shellfish among the rocks, but there was a red tide present. Red tide is a type of algae that can make shellfish produce paralytic toxins. Dave didn't dare take the risk. Cody found something good. It was a fungus known as Indian bread, with a faintly sweet taste. He picked some to share with Dave. This food was rich in protein and nutrients, providing excellent energy replenishment. At night, a boat finally appeared. the two men urgently called for help and were rescued. Two men had an accident at sea but fortunately had an intact kayak. Surveying the surrounding wreckage, they searched for usable supplies. Dave executed a graceful dive into the water and began dog paddling, while Cody also made efforts. They found a floating metal bucket, retrieved it, and also collected a piece of cloth and a pair of jeans. When Dave grew tired, a floating plank appeared just ahead that he could rest on, which made one wonder why he had jumped in the first place. After passing the plank to Cody, Dave demonstrated a survival technique. He took off his pants, tied knots in the legs, then grabbed the waistband and lifted it from the water. With a quick flip, he trapped air inside before securing the waistband, creating an improvised lifebuoy to put his head through. Returning to the kayak, they began drifting. To combat the scorching sun, they wet their clothes and wore them on their heads. After drifting for some time still at sea, their kayak began leaking, giving them something to do during the boring journey. After a full day adrift, they finally spotted land, DSTS, a deserted island. Eagerly going ashore, they collapsed onto the ground, the feeling absolutely wonderful. But with night approaching, they couldn't waste time. They needed to find shelter and make fire quickly. Cody went to explore while Dave handled fire-making, collecting dry tinder. This time Dave also had to go barefoot, which made him uncomfortable. He searched for dry bamboo to make fire-starting tools, found some, and bundled it to bring back. Meanwhile, Cody discovered treasure on the beach, several coconuts lying on the ground. Shaking them confirmed they were fresh. He smashed one open and poked a hole with a stick to drink deeply, incredibly refreshing after hours adrift at sea, truly timely help. When Dave returned, Cody handed him a coconut as reward. Dave attempted to make fire by placing tinder in a bamboo groove and rubbing two sticks together, maintaining rhythm while accelerating speed. Soon the bamboo broke, perhaps too long. Learning from this, Dave tried again with better feel, but the bamboo broke once more. Known for his temper, Dave stubbornly began another attempt, only to have the bamboo snap in his hands. Staring at the broken piece, Dave had an epiphany. Cody, you try. Cody first trimmed the bamboo edges, adjusted the tinder position, and began rubbing. Smoke soon appeared, then sparks that he transferred to the tinder, successfully making fire. For food, Dave sharpened a stick into a spear and took his small plank into the water. He quickly spotted prey, a large stonefish, one of the world's most venomous fish whose toxins can cause paralysis or even death. Avoiding its dangerous dorsal fin, Dave released it back into the sea. Cody made 3 distress signals by planting cloth flags in rock crevices. Meanwhile, Dave spotted a stingray and speared it, carefully removing the venomous barb before triumphantly returning with his plank in tow. They prepared their catch by skewering the fish on sticks for roasting. The aroma soon filled the air, absolutely delicious. Washed down with coconut water, they achieved complete satisfaction. Dave used the red fabric from the kayak to create another distress signal on the beach. Next, he prepared to go fishing, while Cody worked on making fresh water. Cody used a stick to punch a hole in a metal can, then inserted a copper tube. However, steam would escape from the gap, so he needed to fix that issue. He went into the woods to look for a solution but made a new discovery instead. It was mortierella, a fungus similar to yeast, containing a compound called camphorol that could relieve seasickness-induced nausea. However, it also had aphrodisiac effects, so Cody didn't dare eat too much. Meanwhile, Dave upgraded his fishing gear. He attached a sharp glass tube to the front of his spear and secured it with wire to create a barbed tip. Then, he tied a rubber snorkel tube to the spear's end, making a spring-loaded launching mechanism to shoot at fish with precision. Armed with his new weapon, Dave dove into the water and aggressively stabbed at a school of fish, determined to teach them a lesson. Cody, meanwhile, found a cicada exoskeleton. Cicadas emerge from underground, climb trees, shed their shells, and fly away, extracting sugars and starches from branches. This gave Cody an idea the sticky sap from branches could work like glue. He collected some and used it to seal the copper tube in his makeshift desalination setup. He filled the metal can with seawater, about 1/3 full, and placed it over the fire. Steam would pass through the copper tube, condense, and drip into a seashell, producing fresh water. As the water boiled, Cody watched eagerly. Soon, liquid began dripping from the tube. Success! He dampened his shawl and draped it over the copper tube to help cool the steam faster. After tasting the water and confirming it was fresh, he drank safely. Meanwhile, Dave struggled to catch fish, they were too quick. But Dave never returned empty-handed, so he gathered a few sea cucumbers instead. Back at camp, he saw Cody's freshwater setup and immediately scooped some up with his hands to drink. The water tasted slightly salty. Much to Cody's frustration, Dave's salt-covered hands had contaminated it. They prepared their meal, 3 sea cucumbers. When Cody asked how to cook them, Dave said they should gut and dry them, making the texture similar to tofu. But before they could enjoy their food, a yacht appeared. They shouted for help and were finally rescued. Hippos, the living tanks of the delta. Hippos are massive creatures, reaching up to 5 meters in length and weighing over 2,000 kilograms. They are notoriously aggressive, essentially walking tanks. Cody and Dave arrived in the Okavango Delta, a swamp dominated by hippos who love lounging in the water. The survival experts needed to demonstrate how to escape this dangerous territory. They found a random backpack left by the show's crew, but danger still lurked. They had to reach safety first. Scanning their surroundings, they spotted a large tree ahead. They moved cautiously since crocodiles could be hiding in the reeds. The flattened path they saw was a hippo highway. Given their massive size, hippos struggle to turn sharply, so they bulldozed straight through obstacles. The tree stood on dry land, offering temporary refuge. Inside the backpack were a telescope and a handheld satellite. GPS, though waterlogged, it still worked, albeit with low battery. They climbed the tree to scout the area. The GPS indicated a camp 16 kilometers away, too far to reach today. Instead, they aimed for the nearest dry land to set up shelter. As they moved, the scorching sun threatened dehydration. Dave cupped river water and drank, while Cody refused, insisting it was full of bacteria he'd never drink it. Following the hippo trail, they soon encountered the swamp's rulers, 2 hippos playing in the water. The male noticed them immediately. In open water, a bull hippo can charge 30 meters in under 15 seconds. The male stared directly at them. Dave, known for his temper, simply chuckled, no point arguing with a brute. Keeping low, they hurried away. To survive a night surrounded by hippos, their only option was an elevated shelter. Dave found a sturdy tree to support both of them, and they split up to gather materials. Cody worked on improving the shelter while Dave took charge of making fire. He took out a telescope, actually planning to use its lens to start a fire, and gathered some tinder. Everything was ready, except for one thing: sunlight. Unfortunately, the thick cloud cover blocked the sun, forcing them to wait. Finally, the sun broke through. Dave quickly positioned the lens to focus the sunlight, and soon smoke appeared. He transferred the glowing ember to the prepared kindling, successfully starting a fire. Meanwhile, Cody collected wood. On his way back, he stumbled upon a treasure: a massive pile of elephant dung. Elephants only digest about 50% of their food, excreting the rest intact. It was like digging for treasure. You never knew what you'd find until you broke it apart. Luckily, Cody discovered several marula seeds inside. He wrapped the nuts in vines to prevent them from flying away when smashed. Using a log, he cracked them open. This was true survival technique. He now had a protein-rich, if pungent, snack. Secretly, he planned to eat them all himself, leaving none for Dave. Back at camp, the two began constructing their shelter, and soon had a makeshift bed ready. That night, the sounds of hippos surrounded them, but the campfire kept the animals at bay. At dawn, they set out again until Dave nearly tripped over something. Looking down, he found a tortoise. "We'll take it," he said, stuffing it into his bag. Moving forward, they encountered an expansive grassland far larger than expected. With no choice, they pressed on under the scorching Sunday. The heat was unbearable until they reached water. Dave drank eagerly, while Cody stuck to his principles. No way was he drinking that. Instead, he soaked his scarf and draped it over his head to cool down. Later, a wide river blocked their path, and their GPS had completely died, leaving them directionless. The Okavango Delta's waters flowed south, and Cody suggested going downstream by boat. Dave gave him a skeptical look. Had he forgotten their last attempt? Their hand-carved canoe had sunk immediately, wasting 2 days of work. Now Cody wanted to try again? Dave was ready to lose it. "See that hippo in the river?" Dave joked. "Maybe we should ride it downstream," but that was just a fantasy. Cody, however, was confident. He'd learned from past mistakes this time. They'd build a reed boat. Without delay, they began harvesting reeds. Hollow inside, these plants would provide buoyancy when bundled together. The physical labor drained their energy, and the sweltering heat dehydrated them. Dave drank from the river again, and this time, Cody couldn't resist either. He gulped down the water, much to Dave's amusement. "Finally, we're on the same page," Dave said. Refreshed, Cody worked with renewed vigor until he froze. Hidden in the grass was more elephant dung. "Who did this?" he muttered. But then he recognized the plant nearby: raffia palm, naturally strong and flexible, perfect for rope. As twilight approached, Cody continued assembling the boat, while Dave searched for a safer campsite away from hippo territory. He found a clearing with a fallen tree ideal for shelter and gathered firewood, using the lens method again to ignite the flames. Cody bundled the reeds into a boat shape, curving the front to form a bow and securing the stern tightly. His creation, christened the hippo, was complete. Returning to camp, he shared the good news with Dave. "What are the odds it'll float?" Dave asked. 50%, Cody declared confidently. Dave nodded. "That's good enough." To prepare for tomorrow's voyage, Dave decided to cook the tortoise. He dug a pit, buried the tortoise inside, and covered it with hot coals. The next day, Dave dug up the tortoise. After smashing its shell, he obtained a lump of meat and organs. They picked out the edible parts to barely satisfy their hunger, then pushed their reed boat into the water. The crucial moment had finally arrived. Both men climbed aboard the boat held. The hippo officially set sail. Drifting downstream, they occasionally heard hippos roaring nearby. After a tense but uneventful journey, they spotted a small wooden cabin by the river. Civilization at last. They were saved. So when you're in dire straits, never lose hope. With perseverance, success will come eventually. Over endless mountains, no birds in flight. On countless paths, no footprints in sight. Yet here were two men trekking through such brutal snowy mountains. Wyoming boasts some of the steepest, most remote trails in the Rocky Mountains, with peaks exceeding 3,300 meters and annual snow accumulations reaching 9 meters thick. The combination of extreme cold and high altitude made this a devilish challenge. Dave and Cody would begin their survival journey here, searching for randomly placed equipment from the show. They found one pair of snowshoes clearly meant to complicate things, and opened the backpack to discover a thermometer. Is this just to tell us how cold it is? One ski pole, 2 ropes, and a lip balm, which Dave immediately applied without sharing. Further inspection revealed a plastic bag and 2 matches. Dave cursed, was this hope or mockery? Imagine 2 men wandering through frozen wilderness with just 2 matches, not a good omen. They began descending the mountain. In snowfields, maintaining balance is crucial to avoid back injuries. As they progressed, Dave fell into a snowdrift while Cody suffered from freezing bare knees, so he proactively wore the snowshoes to prevent sinking too deep. As dusk approached, they needed shelter and soon found a small snowbank. Digging revealed greater depth than expected. Dave gathered pine branches for bedding while Cody kept working. With nighttime temperatures plummeting to -20 degrees Celsius, their snow cave took shape. After lining the floor with pine branches, Dave mentally prepared to hug Cody for warmth, though reluctantly. Under a starry sky, they slept. At dawn, they resumed their journey amid worsening cold and howling winds. A greater crisis emerged. A sheer ice-covered cliff blocked their path. Where to go now? 2 men, adventuring through snowy mountains, faced this precipice, with no retreat possible. They scouted for a descent route, finding one, but it remained treacherous. Using their ropes, they created a doubled line with intermittent knots for shock absorption. After securing the rope around Cody, Dave gradually lowered him down. Cody reached the bottom safely, followed by Dave. After just a few steps, they discovered running water beneath the snow mountain springs. A misstep into these hidden streams could be fatal. Skirting carefully along the edge, they soon entered a pine forest rich with survival resources. Building another shelter, they constructed a lean-to against several trees. Gathering materials, Cody found branches and old man's beard lichen, perfect tinder. Meanwhile, Dave, after getting stuck in snow again, collected firewood. Cody arranged the wood meticulously. With only 2 matches, failure wasn't an option. He shredded wool and coated it with lip balm for kindling. Ready to ignite, but wait. Suddenly, snow cascaded onto Cody. After it stopped, he successfully lit the fire on the first try, yet the snow seemed determined to extinguish it. They continued building the shelter by constructing a wooden frame and layering pine branches from bottom to top to prevent slippage. More pine branches were spread on the ground as bedding, raising the shelter's temperature to 18 degrees Celsius. Next, they prepared drinking water by filling plastic bags with snow to melt. The 2 split up to forage for food. Cody spotted snowshoe hair tracks and followed them, while Dave focused on a pine tree. He cut branches to fashion makeshift shoes, though the middle branch kept slipping away. After some frustration, Dave succeeded and wove ropes into a grid pattern, reinforcing them with 3 strands to create sturdy laces, completing 1 snowshoe before starting the second. Meanwhile, Cody hunted in just shorts despite the freezing temperatures. He discovered an animal carcass, a moose, but cautiously surveyed the area first, knowing large predators like grizzlies might be nearby. Risking confrontation, he collected the tongue, sealed in the mouth to avoid rabies risk, marrow-rich bones, and hide before hauling them back to camp. Dave was astounded, assuming Cody had hunted the moose. Found it, Cody clarified. Regardless, their growling stomachs took priority. Cody softened the hide by the fire as dusk fell. Before dinner, they warmed their feet and dried socks by the flames. Dave drank melted ice water from the bag, while Cody opted for a more flavorful method, reusing the urine-moistened cloth as a hydration source. Much to Dave's disgust, they roasted the moose tongue on sticks, ensuring thorough cooking to kill bacteria. The meal tasted exceptional, their first proper food in 2 days. The next morning, Dave scouted the area and found a lake. Its open terrain was ideal for distress signals. He cut down a tree, trimmed branches, and built a nearby fire pit as a precaution before testing the ice. Fortunately, it held his weight as he planted the pole with his red backpack attached. Waiting for rescue required sustenance, so fishing became essential. To prevent snow blindness, Cody fashioned goggles from the snowshoe's black fabric. Dave chopped a fishing hole but retreated to warm up just as 2 snowmobilers arrived. They were saved. Did we dig that hole for nothing? Cut to desert survival scenario. In Mexico's Baja California Norte, the mountainous desert features salt flats where alkaline soil stifles vegetation. Survival experts Dave and Cody must demonstrate desert survival using provided gear: a helmet and backpack containing oilskin goggles, a plastic bag, newspaper, a soda can, and half a water bottle. Priority 1, head cooling. Cody's solution? Urinating on his headscarf and offering to help. Dave's cap 2. Despite repeated offers, Dave refused. The 2 men set out with their destination being that mountain valley. When hiking in the desert, 3 principles must be followed. What appears to be 5 kilometers away is actually 3 times that distance. Unfortunately for them, a sandstorm appeared ahead. The storm not only slowed their progress but also caused their sweat to evaporate rapidly, forcing their bodies to continue perspiring. What they needed first was shelter. What they needed second was still shelter. They chose a large tree and hung the oilcloth over it, creating artificial shade where they waited until nightfall. Walking through the desert at night is easy to get lost, but fortunately, it was a full moon that illuminated the land throughout the night. By dawn, after walking all night, they finally spotted vegetation, desert willows that can survive with minimal water. Continuing forward, they left the salt flats and entered mixed woodland with shrubs, pines, and oaks. Cody noticed flood marks on the ground, indicating high probability of water nearby, confirmed by the abundance of willows, which require ample groundwater. Cody found a damp area and started digging frantically in the desert sand, desperate for water. Dave advised giving up to conserve energy, but Cody persisted. His efforts were rewarded when the hole filled with several centimeters of spring water. Dave soaked his headscarf and wrung it to drink, finding the sensation after a day's desert trek absolutely euphoric. When asked why he didn't do the same, Cody reminded him about urinating on his scarf earlier, instead using the soda can to collect a full container of water. They planned to build shelter nearby. Dave found an ideal spot where the slope blocked wind, needing only minor modifications. 2 tasks remained: making fire and finding food. Cody foraged, finding pinyon pines with edible nuts inside their cones, premium snacks. He also discovered woodpecker holes containing food reserves, taking everything though it wasn't filling. Noticing rabbit droppings, he decided to set Mojave scissors traps. Harvesting agave fibers, he spat on them and twisted strands together into rope. After finding straight sticks, he constructed scissor-shaped traps anchored to the ground with spring-loaded trigger mechanisms, baited with prickly pear fruit. He set multiple traps. Meanwhile, Dave innovated with solar ignition, using urine-filled plastic bags. The dark-colored liquid required precise angling to focus sunlight until sparks emerged, successfully lighting tinder. For shelter, Dave built a simple reflective fence using willow branches woven between poles, creating an effective windbreak around the central fire with pine boughs for comfortable bedding. Cody returned with harvested prickly pear for dinner. Dave, anticipating meat but getting vegetables, watched as Cody roasted the cactus. The toxic spines burned away, revealing edible flesh inside that Cody found delicious, complementing his own cooking skills. When Dave tasted it, Cody watched smugly, only for Dave to spit it out, declaring it disgusting, proving himself a man of uncompromising tastes. The next day, Cody went to check the traps. If they wanted to escape the desert, sufficient food was crucial. Meanwhile, Dave searched for edible items as backup in case the traps yielded nothing. He found sweet acorns from oak trees. To remove the shells, he wrapped the nuts in newspaper and crushed them with rocks, then separated the mixture. Using water, the shells floated while the meat sank. After skimming off the shells and draining the water, he obtained homemade peanut butter. Elsewhere, Cody excitedly discovered his trap had caught a rabbit. Back at camp, Dave was thrilled finally. No more vegetables. Soon, the savory roasted rabbit was ready. After the meal, they packed the remaining meat, nuts, and water before setting off. To scout for signs of civilization, they left the woods and climbed a rocky outcrop, carefully navigating the jagged terrain. From the summit, Dave spotted distant dust clouds resembling moving vehicles on a road. They descended along a gully toward the direction. Along the way, Cody found cow dung proof of human activity. Reaching the suspected road, their hopes were confirmed when a passing vehicle appeared. They were rescued. Cut to Thailand's jungle. This man was no ordinary figure, residing deep in Thailand's mist-shrouded wilderness. Calls, monkey screeches, and insects filled the air, a realm of untamed nature. Survival experts, Cody and Dave, accepted the challenge here. Their provided backpack contained a razor-sharp machete, ideal for chopping, a steel wool pad, and a broken phone. They trekked until encountering a stream. Parched but cautious, they avoided drinking untreated water, using it only to cool their faces. Following the stream, they spotted wild figs, nutritious but unripe. The green figs oozed latex that could corrode throats and stomach linings. Pressing onward, the stream vanished into a cavern flanked by a stalactite resembling a fang, a gate to hell with unknown dangers. Detouring was impossible. One side was impenetrable jungle, the other, sheer cliffs. Forced to enter the pitch-black cave, they prepared torches. Cody, the fire expert, gathered tinder from porous fishtail palm fibers. Noticing massive footprints, he identified elephant tracks, and nearby, a fresh dung pile. Life hack, Cody explained, nutrient-rich due to poor elephant digestion. It also served as compact, long-burning fuel. Dave crafted bamboo torches with water-storing joints and 2 bamboo canteens. Cody short-circuited the phone battery with steel wool, generating enough heat to ignite the fibers. Successful, he lit the torches as Dave returned with refreshing bamboo water. Spotting the dung pile, Dave marveled at Cody's ingenuity. Armed with a torch, Dave ventured into the abyss, despite Cody's worries. At least leave a will. Inside, the flickering light barely pierced the darkness as Dave advanced cautiously. Meanwhile, Cody fashioned a container for the dung. No way I'm carrying this bare-handed. Plunging his fingers into the fibrous mass, burnable for 5-6 hours. Thankfully, Dave emerged safely before his torch burned out. He said he saw a faint light deep in the cave. There must be an exit. Now Cody was torn. Maybe he was a Virgo, such ambiguous answers made decisions difficult, but he had no choice. Carrying his specially made lantern, he set off. Soon, the first torch burned out. They stopped to relight it before continuing. The further they went, the more anxious Cody grew. The exit remained unseen, and the oppressive darkness, broken only by the sound of flowing water, unnerved him. Then trouble struck. A waterfall blocked their path, its depth impossible to gauge in the dim light. With the torch fading fast, hesitation wasn't an option. Dave took the lead and, luckily, found steps leading down. The water reached his neck at the bottom. Cody followed, and the two squeezed through a narrow passage before emerging into an open area. Ahead, light beckoned an exit. The sight brought immense relief. The bad news? Cody's lantern was lost. They trekked along the stream, racing against dusk to find shelter. A towering tree caught their eye, perfect for a campsite. Dave split bamboo stalks lengthwise, keeping one half with intact joints at both ends, then split the middle section into strips. Humming, Cody cut bamboo into sections, lashed them together for a frame, and split more into planks for bedding. His makeshift bed worked, though his feet dangled uncomfortably. Dave strung his bamboo between 2 trees as a hammock. Testing it, the bamboo creaked but held. Cody placed charcoal beneath his bed, layered leaves atop it, and used the smoke to repel insects. Dave, mistaking it for a fire, rushed over only to find Cody sitting stoically in the haze, exuding an almost mystical aura, until a coughing fit ruined the effect. When Cody offered to make a smoke setup for Dave, the latter declined. His hammock over the stream needed no pest control. Suddenly, Cody's smoky bed felt inferior, and the fumes unbearable. The next day, they resumed their journey. Needing energy, Cody spotted a lizard. The seasoned hunter smirked. A simple tool would suffice. He crafted a blowgun from bamboo, fashioning darts with split ends, and baiting them with fleshy plants to build pressure. Testing it, he aimed at a leaf. Whoosh! A near miss, but the dart buried a centimeter deep. Impressive force. Time for the real hunt. Moving stealthily, Cody spotted a lizard. He inhaled deeply and blew only to startle it into fleeing. Last time I used a blowgun was 17 years ago, he muttered. Another attempt failed. Baffled, he inspected the bamboo crooked. Adjusting for angle and wind, he squinted, staking his pride on one final shot, and missed again. Dave returned, praising the blowgun's craftsmanship until learning of Cody's 0 hits. Disappointed, they trudged onward hungry. Reaching open terrain, they faced a muddy wallow scarred by wild boar tracks. Beyond it lay a canyon with a vast, still lake. Trapped, Dave climbed high and spotted a distant boat. "Get in the water now," he yelled. Cody cut 2 bamboo poles for flotation as Dave leapt from the rocks. Kicking and shouting, they caught the boat crew's attention. They were saved. Panama's rainforest covers approximately 40,000 square kilometers and is home to over 10,000 species of plants and animals. With an altitude exceeding 2,000 meters, it rains here year-round. They found the randomly placed backpack prepared by the show crew, containing a machete, a raincoat, a specimen jar, a lighter that wouldn't spark. Nightfall was approaching, and the nights here were bitterly cold and damp. Their top priority was building shelter. The two split up to search. These oak trees stood like skyscrapers in the foggy forest, nearly reaching the clouds. They absorbed moisture from the mist, channeling it back into the soil. The ground crunched underfoot, far from ideal for camping. Cody continued scouting and found edible fern shoots. Picking the tender sprouts, he noted their faint asparagus-like taste. Meanwhile, Dave spotted a potential campsite near a tree adorned with orchids that acted as a natural rain shield. He called Cody over, who arrived munching on ferns. Dave explained his plan, and they got to work. Dave built the shelter while Cody tackled fire-making. Cody's idea, the lighter could produce sparks, and the specimen jar contained cotton that would ignite easily, but the tinder here was soaked a major hurdle. Dave chopped logs for a raised bed to avoid the damp ground, then moved onto the roof. Cody gathered semi-dry leaves, shredding them for better flammability. Prepped, he sparked the lighter near the jar's cotton lining. After several tries, it caught, and he transferred the flame to the tinder. Easy as that, Cody thought, until the damp tinder snuffed out his efforts. Defeated, he returned to camp with the bad news, his masculine pride wounded. They upgraded the shelter. Raincoat on the roof, layered with palm fronds, plus leaf padding on the bed. Inside, they still shivered. Under such conditions, body heat would help, but one glance at each other's burly frames made them reconsider. By morning, the raincoat had collected water. After skimming off insects, Cody drank, then gagged. Refreshingly sweet? Yeah, right. To stay dry, Cody crafted a Panamanian-style raincoat from rooster tail leaves, large surface area, and vine rope. Layering the leaves like fish scales, he secured the final piece instant plus 50 charisma. A vine belt completed the look. When Dave saw the leaf-clad Cody, he froze. Cody proudly demonstrated a grass skirt dance, sparking envy. Dave inspected it covetously, itching to make his own. They set off downhill. Soon, Cody shed the skirt too hot, yet too useful to discard. Annoyingly impractical, he grumbled. The terrain grew steeper until they faced a near-vertical cliff. Retreat wasn't an option. They decided to use vines as ropes. Dave gathered sturdy vines, testing their strength by tying one to a tree and yanking it. Even a two-man tug-of-war didn't snap it